Hi, good afternoon to you. If you are, viewing this webinar live, and good day to you if you're seeing the recorded portion of this webinar. So, before I get into the topic of this webinar, which is the notes to the trainer, which is part of the trainer's logbook that we recently released, let me give a brief overview. We have two series of webinars running. One is the SOFA to 5K series, which is designed to further expand. So we take each paragraph of that book, SOFA to 5K book, which is our publication, which targets a new runner, a non-runner, and enables him to run a 5K distance in a very structured 8-week plan. So we take that book and we take each paragraph of that book and we try to make it into a 15-20 minute webinar. So that is one series, and you'll find it on our channel. If you look around. And the other series, which is this series, is regarding the trainer's logbook. So we released recently the trainer's logbook, which basically is a very important tool for a trainer and a trainee to define their relationship and to see that they are doing things properly. And in the first session, we covered about why we did this logbook, the rationale and the purpose of the logbook. And in this session, we start digging deep into the book itself, and we will go into the first topic, which is the notes to the trainer. So basically, this is meant for a trainer to understand how to use the logbook and what are the do's and don'ts while doing the logbook. So this is a general overview kind of webinar of going into the logbook. We intend to do very exhaustive. The logbook itself is very exhaustive, as you can see quickly here, and we intend to do very in-depth webinars of each part of this logbook so that trainers can benefit from viewing these webinars and using the logbook for their trainees. Trainers and trainees can benefit. But in this one, we'll come to the first chapter, which is the notes to the trainer, and we'll cover that in depth. So getting without much ado, getting into the logbook has got 5 components. The first is the informed consent. Second is the initial survey. The third is the risk evaluation. Fourth is the fitness assessment, and the fifth is the food log. So there are 5 components of this logbook, and the logbook is designed so that every trainer can have one for a year. So there are 4 quarterly fitness assessment checklist in this, and if they fill that up, then they can have 1 year's record of how they you know became from a sedentary person to a fit person, or from a fit person to a very even more healthier and fitter person. So these are the 4 chapters, and what really needs to be done is that the informed consent must be read. So the informed consent, and we'll go into that in a separate webinar, is basically something that the trainee will read and he will sign. There's a place for him to sign. The informed consent takes care of the various risks that the trainee will be exposed to, and also the trainer gets a sign off from the trainee that he is okay to take that kind of a training problem. In this informed consent, just give it to the trainee and let him read it. Do not force him. Do not tell him what those paragraphs are. You know, it is in English, and I'm assuming that the trainee can read English. If the trainee cannot read English, then one can translate it into a language that the trainee and the trainer are comfortable with. But generally speaking, the trainee must read it himself, paragraph by paragraph, and then sign it willingly and with full accord. So there should not be very often what happens is that people tend to rush you through the process. Arey, just sign here, sign here, sign here. And then people just sign it because they are being told to sign it. So that should not be done. The It's not just a formality of taking the signature. There is very important text in this. The trainee has to understand what is involved in the training, Many trainees, this might appear as this, you know, they don't like the symptoms of exercise. For example, they say, "Oh, I sweat," or "I'm getting fatigued, I'm getting tired." People have to know that these are all normal things when you exercise your body. You will sweat, you will get fatigued, you will get tired, you will get exhausted, you'll feel sleepy. Okay, but that's how the body behaves. That's how the body reacts to training. So make the trainee read the entire informed consent. Keep it in front of him. Let him take as much time as possible. Tell him to read it and tell him to sign it. Do not sit over him, look over his shoulder, and tap your fingers, show your impatience. You want to get on with it. Let him take his time. If he's coming, if it's possible, let him take it home, and read it in with his family members and come back, because not only is there a part of where he's exonerating you from any risk, but he's also, there's a lot of aspects of what will be involved in the training that the trainee needs to know about. So the first rule is, let the trainee read the informed consent. Do not force him. Do not show any impatience. Let him read on his own and let him sign it with fully informed consent. The next one is the initial screening. Okay. Again, this initial screening has to be filled up by the trainee. Let him sit down, let him take his time, let him answer all the questions as much as he can to whatever information is possible. Now, there may be questions that the trainee may not be aware. Okay, he may come and ask you for explanations. He may say something like, like, he may ask, "Do you consider yourself sleepy?" I'm just taking a random question. So he may not know how to answer this. Okay, so the trick here is to answer in as neutral a language as possible. Okay, so rather than giving him an answer and saying, "Oh, you must be sleeping 7-8 hours, so it's all right," right, rather than leading him to an answer, you must ask him signs and symptoms of sleep deprivation. For example, you should ask him, "Do you generally yawn during the day? Do you feel sleepy in the office?" Everybody does. Okay, do you feel sleepy in the office? Or when you go into a cinema theater, have you found yourself sleeping off? So these are signs and symptoms which will enable the trainee to evaluate himself whether he's sleep deprived. So there can be many similar things, for each question. For example, what are your fitness goals generally in 3 months? Okay. So rather than putting words in his mouth, let him write what his fitness goals in 3 months. Then whether it is possible, whether it's a wild dream, whether he wants to become, the super athlete, he wants to become a Milka Singh in 3 months, then that time will tell. But let him first start writing on his own. Let him first start thinking about it himself and saying, this is a commitment that he's making to his own health. And let him make the commitment. You don't lead him into that commitment. That is what we want to say. So do not ask, do not give him, leading questions. Do not give him, answers that are putting words in his mouth. If there is a question, answer in a very neutral language, in a very hands-off manner, and let him write the answer on his own. So that is the part regarding the informed regarding the initial screening. So the informed consent and the initial screening, that is A and B, needs to be filled up by the trainee himself. Let them take time, let them go home, let them fill it up and come back another day. And after these two forms are done, you do what is known as a risk assessment. So you are basically now, you have the history, you have his consent, and then you have his entire medical history. You also know what his goals are, etc. You can now do a risk evaluation, which is something that you do. It's not a form here. Okay, the risk evaluation is basically there in paragraphs 3 and 4 of this notes to the trainer. It's a very important part. We didn't want to put it as a very big thing and frighten the trainee, because you will be taking this with him. I know, and put it as this. But basically, what we are saying is that after these two sections are filled up, if he has answered yes to questions number 3 to 9, and 3 to 9 are here. Okay, the questions are: do you have any known cardiac heart issues that will prevent you from exercising? Do you have any pulmonary lungs breathing issues? Do you have diabetes, high sugar level? Do you have pain in jaw, arm, discomfort, which becomes more when you exercise? So people don't know angina. Okay, so they may be having angina, they may not be able to this. So we are using very simple language that any lay person can understand rather than using technical terms. Do you feel any unusual shortness of breath at rest or with mild exertion? Again, can be angina, can be COPD, many underlying medical conditions. Do you feel dizzy, lightheaded when at rest or with mild exertion? Blood pressure. Okay. Do you have swelling of the feet? Edema. So we took very simple questions and we took medical condition, made them into very simple questions. So if he answers yes to any of these questions, this means he's in the high risk category. This indicates he's either having diabetes or he's having blood pressure or he's having a cardiac disease. And if he's in the high risk category, then you must tell him to go to a physician, go to a cardiologist, somebody who knows sports, physiology better, and then take his consent before you start the exercise program. Okay, so that is high risk category. Saying yes, 3 to 9. These are the 9 questions. If again in the history it's spread all over. If we have listed out 8 categories and 8 risk factors, and if the person has 2 of those risk factors, then he is in medium category. Okay, so what are those 2 risk factors? The 8 risk factors are: age is greater than 45 for men or 55 for women, family history of cardiac diseases, currently a smoker or has been a smoker in the last 6 months, generally leads a very sedentary lifestyle. He is overweight, which means his BMI, body mass index, is more than 30. He has high blood pressure, which is greater than 140/90. He has high cholesterol, blood lipids, which are greater than 200 mg, pre-diabetes, fasting blood sugar, which are greater than 125. So these 8 factors are risk factors. If he has got 2 of them, that doesn't mean that he cannot exercise. It means that he's in a medium risk if he has got 2 of them. 2 of any of these 8. So if he's got 2 of them. If he's in a medium risk, what it means is that you don't have to send him again to a doctor, okay? But you have to slowly start. You have to not make him exercise at his MHR, that is his maximum heart rate. And you have to slowly adopt, and you have to pay a little bit more careful. You have to pay a little bit more attention and see that he doesn't do too much too soon. And watch out for symptoms, all times. Watch out for symptoms, see how he exercises, see what is this, and slowly increase the load. Don't increase the load suddenly, training load. Okay, so this is the very important part of the notes to the trainer, which is basically paragraph 3 and 4, which is the risk assessment, risk evaluation. And this will depend upon what the exercise prescription can be for the person. So depending upon whether he's in high risk or medium risk or no risk, I mean, if they're none of this, then no risk, you can then decide what is exercise should be and how much of intensity can be there in the training, whichever what you want to do. So that is this. This one is that after we have done this and after the initial screening is done, only then do we start with section C, which is fitness assessment. So if the person is not at all fit and if he's very high medical risk, you cannot even test him for his cardiac fitness. Okay, so no fitness can be done, fitness assessment can be done until the person has been evaluated for the risk. So let him write his initial screening on his own, fill up the blanks wherever it is not possible for him to write. Okay, evaluate his risk, categorize him into high or medium or no risk based on the criteria we have seen. And after that categorization is done, you can decide whether to do a fitness assessment for him or not. Because if he's in the high risk, then you should not be doing a cardio fitness evaluation on him, because you don't know. I mean, you unless he goes to a doctor and sees a doctor, it's not desirable for you to take a risk with that kind of a trainer. Okay, so basically those are the steps. You do your informed consent first. Then after the informed consent, you do your initial screening. After your initial screening, you do a risk evaluation, and after the risk evaluation, you do your fitness assessment. Okay, so these are the stages with which you have to go. In the last, this is we have got a food log. We have got 7 pages of the food log, and there are separate instructions on how to fill the food log. There are separate this, and this can be done anytime. You can do it either in the beginning as soon as you're starting, or you can do it maybe a week or two after this. And the instructions for that are separate, and the trainee can at this point of time know that there is going to be a food log, and he will have to write down what he eats. The trainer does need to know what he's eating and what his nutrition is, because that's a very essential component of health and recovery, and therefore the ability to train better. So that is also included in the book. So basically, these are the notes to the trainer, and we have just gone through them. I've explained in greater detail. If you're online, we have this beautiful facility. You can chat with me, and you can type in your questions, and I can answer your questions. Whenever I keep looking to my left, you are right. I'm looking at a monitor that has got all the chat windows open, so I can see if there's anybody asking me a question on the chat, and I can do that. If you're seeing in the recorded version on YouTube, then please feel free to write comments under each of these videos, ask questions. I would love to respond back and share my knowledge, best practices, not only with you, but everybody else will also get to read it and benefit from the question that you ask me. So I highly encourage you to uh, write back and give me feedback, because if there is feedback, then we also have pleasure in putting out content like this for you. So thank you very much, and thank you for the patient listening. And the next webinar will be on the informed consent. We'll go through paragraph by paragraph. We will determine what these paragraphs mean, and I'll explain that to you. So this is basically the notes to the trainer. So thank you very much for being there, and I hope that you and your trainee have a very mutually beneficial and healthy relationship. Thank you.